Right, Mike, you were just over a week into your pre-season preparations. How have things gone so far?
Yeah, it's gone really well. Obviously, the boys that was with us last year and a couple of players that we knew that were going to sign have been doing an off-season programme. Something I know that sort of left to the lads most of the time, but we decided that we wanted to get someone involved and give them a full programme and see if we could sort of get them in a better place on the first day of training. Looking at all the testing scores and everything, especially the boys who was obviously part of the programme last year, just come back flying. I've said to the lads, I said like it's one of the best sort of starts to a pre-season that I've seen for a long time in terms of fitness. Obviously, there's a lot of other things that we need to work on, but I think the stuff that we spoke about was getting the conditioning right, especially over the first 2 or 3 weeks. So yeah, it's been good. We've had quite a lot of new additions over the last week or so they've got a lot catching up to do. So we've got to make sure that we sort of shape what that looks like for them to catch up with the lads who are flying at the moment with a fitness.
How important is it to have had that bit of space in between the season and pre-season starting? And pre-season itself obviously came in mid-season last season, so it was kind of limited as to what you could do.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's been the sort of a perfect off-season because obviously there's been a lot going on. I think I've said it to a lot of people who know me and people here. I like to work off like a 70-30 process, and that's get 70% of your work done before you come into pre-season, but we've not been able to do that. So now we're working the other way. So obviously with the takeover, which seems like a positive move so far, and it's good to see what their ambition is for the club. So we are sort of chasing ourselves a little bit, but obviously some of the recruitment and things that we're going after is good, and I think it's just good for us to put our stamp on the team. I think last year was a very difficult scenario that we was in, and I think that would be difficult for any manager and any coaching team to sort of deal with, and I think credit to the players and the fans and us, we all stuck together and got through it, but I think we also know that it probably wasn't my identity of how I'd want to play to get through that, but so it's good for us to have a go at what we want to look at. On average, from my experience, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks to get it across the line to start seeing real improvements on it. We've only just started to touch on some of the tactical stuff with the physical, but like I said, the main thing for us is make sure that we're one of the fittest teams in the league, and that we've got off to a good start.
As you've said, apart from some early business, you've had your hands tied for quite a while in terms of what you can do with the takeover process going on behind the scenes. There has been action since that takeover, a fair few players through the door recently, so how pleased are you with the squad that you've managed to build so far?
Yeah, I think everybody knows. I made it clear to everybody, no matter what was going to happen in terms of my position, I was always going to try to leave like York in a better place if I was to leave, and also if I was to stay, that we had a good plan. So me and my coaching team, we had a strategy in terms of what it would look like in all different scenarios. We've got different categories of players that we feel that we'd go after. Obviously, knowing my background, I like the development, and I like players to push the first team. I think one of the things that we didn't have last year was that sort of gap between the 18s and first team. There was so when we had players from the first team who wasn't playing, they wasn't getting any match minutes anywhere, and then for the younger ones, they were just playing in their league and cup, so we didn't have that balance of playing like professional teams or local semi-professional teams to try and get minutes up, but also to get players pushing the first team. So one of the things, obviously, when the chairman came in and we had a sit down and a chat, that was something that he believes in. So what we've done is we've moved quite quick on a lot of young talent who have had good experience in terms of their background, of where they've been. Still got a little bit to develop and to really push to get into that first team, but it gives everybody a bit of a lift. It's a little bit of a bigger squad than what we wanted to start with, but got the right staff in now to sort of develop them and give them games as well, and then listen, you've just got to sort of give them the opportunity to push and try and get in the first team. So delighted with the players that we've got in. There's some really good young talent in there. And I think sort of if we get that sort of structure right behind the scenes, I think it'll benefit the first team and it'll benefit the club as a whole.
So what does a Michael Morton team look like ideally? So you said many times last season that the playing style wasn't quite what you'd want if you had a proper pre-season to prepare your players in. So what does that look like in your head?
Yeah, I think it's not in my head. I could sit here and explain the whole identity and methodology. It'll take an hour, but just to keep it in simple terms, I talk to the players around the 3 C's that I use, and if people come and watch a York City team, I want us to hit the 3 C's, and the first one's condition. So we're like, we've got to be in the right condition to be probably one of the fittest teams in the league, and we've got the right resources in terms of people supporting us from Premier League to help us do that. I think the lads have been buying into that. The second one is control, just making sure that we're in control of all 4 phases of the game. That's the stuff that we need to go after in the second half of the season when we've got a bit more of a settle first team. And then the last thing is confidence. And I said it to the players, I think if we hit all them 3 things come the first game of the season, then that'll give us a real identity, so everyone's looking at it and going, yeah, they're conditioned, they look really well, they look like they're in control and they're playing with confidence.
And just on more of a pre-season programme as a whole, including the games, we'll talk more specifically on the Sheffield Wednesday game later in the week, but a good mix of tests in there, some good EFL clubs and then some clubs lower down the divisions. So how happy are you with the programme that you've built there?
Yeah, and that's credit to everybody behind the scenes who've been helping out with that and trying to sort of get the teams in place. We wanted a balance because we know that every team's going to give us a different challenge, and there'll be certain games where we'll go after certain things. So obviously if you're playing against a top team, we want to see where we are in terms of the physical conditioning. We want to sort of have a good go and make sure that we're as good as them, because they're all professional footballers, so there's no excuses of why we can't be as fit as any team higher. Yes, there'll be maybe a bit of a gap in terms of the quality. And on that side, we'd have to maybe have a look at like sort of the defensive stuff, and then there's games where we really want to impose ourselves and get hold of the ball and see where we're at. So it's a really good balance in terms of games. We are at this moment as well trying to arrange a few games behind closed doors, just so we can have a look at some of the younger ones, and then hopefully we'll go play some professional teams later in pre-season to really have a look at the younger ones to push the first team.
And we're balancing the squad as well, a good mix of ages, good mix of backgrounds. I feel like there's some players in there like Fallowfield, Ducky, Stockdale, all local people, a team that really represents York, but then so some players come from further afield. So how important is that to build a team that does kind of represent York that way?
Yeah, really important. And we talk about, yes, there's some young players come in, but there's some good young players. But you've also got to have that experience of players who've been there and done it, and there's just a few of the names that you mentioned there. They've had plenty of experience of playing in the Football League, playing the National League. They're good around the place, good people, and that's what we need. There is going to be some more new additions to the team that we're working on at the moment. That's with the chairman and Stocky and myself, just trying to get some over the line. But obviously, because it's not an easy process to get them over the line, it's going to take a little bit longer. But that with the players that we've kept on, we're happy with them. They understand the situation as well, that that there's going to be quality coming in, and then hopefully when we get everybody through the door, we can really have a look at this team and really push on. But I think the balance within the side and the players that we want to bring in, I think it'll be good come first game of the season.
Yeah, and on Stocky a bit more, combining playing duties with a head of recruitment role. A backroom team, there wasn't really much of that there last season at the time, so how important is it to try and put people in those kind of positions to give more of that sort of support staff that you'd expect of a professional club? Yeah,
100%. I think I made it clear to everybody. I think the sort of structure behind the scenes it wasn't good enough. I explained it to the trust and Glenn before. I've had a chat obviously with Matt now, and I think the biggest thing is just getting that structure right, but people understanding why you need that. And I think what a lot of people are doing now is having a look at it, and you need a recruitment team, so you're not waiting around for the next player. We want to be in a position where we've got players who are going to kick on the team and go and really test themselves and really challenge in the league, but also players who are going to sort of go on and have really good careers. But what we've got to do then is make sure that we're one step ahead of the game and we've got the next player ready to come in. Alongside that, we need to develop the players, so we need the analysis and everything around that, and the sort of the conditioning work, which Paddy's doing a tremendous job at the moment, but we need a little bit more support on that. So just run it like a real professional football club and and just making sure that if we're moving forward that you know, that we've covered all bases and we're not scrambling around. So you know, the important thing is to get the foundation right now, improve on last season, and then just see where we can take the club.